Hey, let me tell you a story. We probably haven't heard very many folks, believers or in church or small group or friends of yours doing life, that talk about this secret sin that I'm sure isn't spoken about very much. And I want to bring that to light because this could be a potential blind spot that's taking your leadership out from being all that you are called to be and operating in your kingdom assignment. And so, watch this. Tell me if you can relate to this. And then I'm going to read some scripture and we're going to unpack this really, really quick. Most of the time, I have struggled with those things which seem common. Let's say it's sin and missing the mark of the Lord's intent. Let's say it's on eating. Man, I'm making choices on decisions when it comes to my holiness, when it comes to my physical, on my body, that's taking me out. Or maybe it's my impure thoughts, my mind. My mind is being overran with lust. Maybe it's financial or something like that where it's out of whack and I'm obsessing over it. Here's the one today that I believe is just a gnarly one that, if not addressed, can really take out your leadership. And here it is. In Luke, we hear the Lord talking about the rich young fool. This is one of my favorites. I'm just camped out on this, and I can't tell you how incredible this is. And why this is spoken about so much by Jesus, but also why it's spoken about with Paul. And it is the sin of greed. I've never heard anybody in my 50 years ever walk up to me and go, dude, I need help. Will you pray for me? I am suffering from greed. And most of us don't even realize it because none of us believe that we are. And I would ask that you would put this on your radar and really take this into consideration as you operate. In Luke 12, the Lord is talking about in 13. I'm going to read the Message version and a little bit of the NIV so you can see the comparison here. He's talking to a crowd, and then he told them this story. And he said, the farm of a certain rich man produced a terrific crop. He said to himself, what can I do? The barn isn't big enough for all this harvest. Then he said, here's what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. All right? I'll tear down bigger ones. Then I'll gather in all my grains of goods, and I'll say to myself, you've done well. You've got it made. And now you can retire. Take it easy and just have the time of your life. Just then God showed up and said, you fool, tonight you will die, and your barn full of goods, who gets it? That's what happens when you fill your barns with self and not with God. Now watch this. Before that, he says, speaking to the people, he went on and said, take care, protect yourself against the least bit of greed, Life is not defined by what you have, even when you have a lot. Now, if we look at NIV, it said, then he said to them, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. We think that greed just has to do with money. All kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Later on in that later verse, it says, this is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. If we go to the internet and just type in forms of greed, here they are. Overly self-centered behavior is the first giveaway of a sign of greedy people. Envy and greed are like twins. Lack of empathy is another sign of greedy people. Greedy people are never satisfied. Greedy people are experts in manipulation. Greedy folks are into hoarding and comparison and entitlement and overspending. None of us believe that we are being greedy. None of us believe that we have the sin of greed. Sometimes we'll say, man, I'm being really prideful, but I'm telling you, the boiling water effect of our lives of not realizing that we're a frog sitting in boiling water is that we are not rich towards God. Greed, my friend, is the sneaky, secret sin we're not even aware of. It's not even on our radar. And I would ask that you would do a self-assessment today. Take inventory. Sit down, Lord, on your walk, when you're driving. Help me understand where I am greedy. Because if Jesus is talking this much about watch out for all forms of greed, not just money. And then Paul, when he goes to depart and says goodbye to everybody, says, goodbye, everybody, and look out for greed. It's the killer of your fruit. The antidote for greed is generosity. Generosity is the heart, the very nature of our Father's business and how he operates, and that is his currency. So if you want the antidote for greed, be generous. How do you keep greed from creeping in? Have a generous lifestyle and a generous heart. It even talks about extravagant generosity. It's like going over and above. And so for me, I find that the more generous that I am, not just with time, not just with relationships, not just with the people and the opportunities that we have in life, it includes our finances as well. But that is really where the rubber hits the road. Where and how can I be generous beyond just financial? That's my hope and prayer for you today. I hope that you can keep that on your radar. Greed is the killer. Greed is the killer. And it's the fear that you are going to rely not just on yourself, but you are going to put your hope in those things which you can tangibly see, touch, and feel. Our currency of faith is deployment of getting rid of ingenerous to trust and believe that the Lord is going to drop off more seed for us to deploy. Greed says it's not going to rain. The Lord's not going to bring surplus. The Lord's not going to refill. The Lord's not going to provide. Therefore, I'm going to take it. That's a greedy posture. My friends, let's examine ourselves. Where are we greedy? Where do we need to do that business and dismantle the God of greed that we've allowed to steep into our life? And let's get rid of it. That's my prayer and hope for you today. Have an amazing, amazing day. God bless you.